So let's do a little practice with inverted chord analysis. First things first, we're looking at taking an inventory of the pitches that are there. So the bottom pitch here is C. Now we have A flat and then E flat. So we rearrange those to try to create an alphabetical order where we have every other letter. Or if you want to think of rewriting it off to the side to create the snowman shape that we're used to, that will work as well. So we have C, A, and E. We know that's not specifically the order, so what about C, E, A? No, that won't work either because it would be C, skip D, E, and then skip F, G before we get to A. We got to think every other letter. So how do I rearrange it? A, C, E. And can I check it? Yeah, I can check it by writing it off to the side like that, and I see, oh, okay. That does make the snowman shape we're used to, not this weird decapitated falling apart snowman. So we've got A flat, C, and E flat. We're asking ourselves the same question that we did before, which is in the key of the bottom note, what are the other notes? So in the key of A flat, when you do A flat major, A flat minor, how about A flat minor? Maybe you already know that that key is all flats. So A flat minor, a minor triad would be everything flat. This has that middle note raised a half step, which means it takes it from a minor third to a major third. It makes it a major triad, A flat major triad. Can I double check that? Yeah, look at A flat major's key signature. Does it have an A flat and an E flat and a C natural? It does. A flat major has A flat, B flat, E flat, and D flat, so nothing on C. So here I write A flat, capital A flat, and then I look at what is the bottom note. Is it the root, the third, or the fifth? My bottom note here is a C. That's the third of the chord. And like we learned before, I write the first inversion symbol as a 6. So again, first inversion, I'll write 6. Second inversion, I'll write 6, 4. Root position, I write nothing at all. Next chord. Step 1, take an inventory of the pitches. F sharp, B, D sharp, F sharp. Well, conveniently enough, I see that this grouping right here is already looking like a snowman, so I can kind of ignore that bottom F sharp for just a second. And I see that my chord is a B, D sharp, F sharp. Now, let's think in the key of B. You want to do B major, B minor? We'll do B major this time. B major has what key signature? It has 5 flats. F, check. C, not there. G, not there. D, check. I could probably stop there, but then you just think, what's the fifth one? It's A. That's not a part of the chord. Okay? So yes, that matches with B major. If I checked B minor, I'd notice that the third was a half step different. So I write a capital B for B major, and then I ask, is it the root on the bottom, the third on the bottom, or the fifth on the bottom? Well, here I have the fifth on the bottom, the F sharp of the chord. And for the second inversion, has the fifth on the bottom, I write 6, 4. So that's a B major, 6, 4. This is an A flat major, 6. Remember that it goes letter, sharper flat symbol, and then the numbers. Next chord. Start by taking an inventory of your pitches. D, G sharp, B, and then another G sharp. Repeated notes we can just ignore for right now. So how do I arrange these to where they would make a snowman? Well, that would be G, skip A, B, skip C, D. It would be that chord right there with the G sharp on it. So I know it's some sort of G. So I think of the key of G sharp? I mean, you can. There's no G sharp major. That's not a thing. You can think of G sharp minor for anyone who's thinking G sharp minor has the key signature of, yeah, B major. The same thing that we just looked at a second ago. Relative keys. But what if I don't like thinking of the key of G sharp? What if I just think of in the key of G? In the key of G major, would I have G, B, D? I would, yeah, they're all natural in that key. So G, B, D is a major chord with a major third and then a minor third. If I have G, B sharp, or sorry, I have G sharp, B, D, I should say, I've taken that bottom major third and I've decreased it in size. I've turned a major chord into a diminished chord. By changing that G to a G sharp, I've decreased the size there. So in this case, we didn't really want to use the given note. We used a different note and then just adjusted from there. If I'm really in doubt, I can go back and check the key of G sharp minor and adjust from there. Or I can just break it down into whole steps and half steps and sort of check my math. So this is a G sharp diminished. I'd write a lowercase g sharp, and then I would write the diminished symbol. Letter, sharp or flat. If there's a diminished or augmented symbol, that comes next. And then finally, the last thing I add is my inversion symbol. Which one of these is on bottom, root third or fifth? It's the fifth that's on bottom, the D. So for a second inversion chord, it has the fifth on the bottom. I write 6, 4. So this is a G sharp diminished 6, 4, or a G sharp diminished in second inversion. That's how I would say it either of those ways. Next up here we have C, G, E flat, and G. So take an inventory of those pitches. How do I arrange them in order to make a root position chord, snowman shape? I would get C, E flat, G. C, E, G, right? So in C major, that would all be natural, but this middle note is lowered a half step. So hopefully that should be pinging. Hey, that's a minor chord. Double check it. How about the key of C minor? C minor has 3 flats, and one of those flats is E. So it's a C minor chord. I'd write a lowercase c. Now, when you're writing as opposed to typing, capital and lowercase c can look really, really similar. So my preference is, if you don't want there to be any chance of miscommunication between you and whoever's reading it, then write the C and then put a little lowercase m after it, just so I know that you know that that's a C minor. Some people would write C, M-I-N, just to be really, really particular. That's fine. You don't have to, but just do what you need to do to make sure there's no confusion about what you actually wrote. It would be terrible to miss points for something that you already knew. Now, moving on to the next line. We have a G. This is bass clef. We have a G, an E, oh, sorry. There's a sharp missing in this one. A G sharp, an E, a G sharp, and a B. So again, we can recognize this triad shape right here, that chord is intact, which means that E is my root. So E, G sharp, B, does that fit with the key signature of E major or E minor? It fits with the key signature of E major. E minor does have a sharp, 1 sharp, but it's on F. E major has 4 sharps. One of those 4 sharps is G sharp. So that fits with the key signature of E major, which means it's an E major chord. Again, I want to reiterate how important it is that you know your key signatures super, super well so that you can get these answers much, much quicker and much easier. So that's E major. And now we're looking at G sharp is the bottom note, so root third, fifth. So the G sharp is the third of the chord. That means it's in first inversion. My symbol for first inversion is a 6. Next one here, we have an E on the bottom, and then an A flat, another E, another A flat, and a C. Finally, we got our third pitch there. So E, A flat, and C. How do I arrange those to where they make a root position chord? What would it be? It would be A flat, C, E. So with that in mind, A flat, C, E, A flat's my root. Let's think in the key of which one you want to do. A flat major, A flat minor? We did A flat minor before. Let's do A flat major now. A flat major has flats, and it has how many of them? 4. 4 flats. A flat, right? Has B flat, E flat, A flat, of course, and D flat. So that E should be flat if this were a major chord, but it's not. It's been raised up. So what happens when we take a major triad and we raise the 5th up a half step? We get an augmented triad. So A flat plus letter, sharp or flat symbol, augmented or diminished symbol, now finally the inversion symbol. Because the E is in bottom and the E is the fifth of the chord, that means it's second inversion. So this is 6-4. Almost starts looking like a math problem after a while. Just two more. We've got A, C sharp, F, and A. Rearrange those and we get a snowman shape, not if we build it on A, not if we build it on C, but if we build it on F, we get that shape with a C sharp there. Okay, so F, A, C sharp. Well, what about the key of F major? What would we get? F, A, C. So again, like what we just saw in the previous chord, we've taken a major chord and we've raised the fifth by a half step. In this case, we raised it with a natural, and in this case, we raised it with a sharp. But both ways, we were raising it by a half step. So my F major chord becomes an F augmented chord. And because my A is in the bottom, that's the middle note or the third of the chord, this is in first inversion, F augmented 6 or F plus 6. Last one here, we have an F, we have a D flat, and we have an A flat. How do I arrange those to where they form a root position chord? Well, you see this little space in here where we have two notes that are a fifth apart? That should be a giveaway that then you can put another note in between, in this case the F there, and that forms a root position triad on D flat. So D flat major, D flat minor. D flat major's got fewer flats. Let's think about that. So D flat minor is not really a key signature. You'd have to have a theoretical key where we add more than 7 flats. So D flat major has 5 flats: B, E, A, D, and G. In this case, F is not flat, but D and A are. So it matches perfectly with D flat major. So I write a capital D flat. And now my bottom note here is the F. It's the middle note, so that's the 6. Be very careful when writing this to make sure it's neat and easy to read, because D flat 6 could easily be misconstrued as D double flat or D6 6 or something that's just completely misunderstandable. So make sure that I know that you have the right answer. Keep practicing with this. Musictheory.net is a great resource to practice chord identification and chord construction. And once you get this, you'll be shocked at how much music makes sense now, because you can read so much by simply understanding chords. And the best way to understand chords is to have a firm grasp of your keys.